Welcome to Two Wheels, Many Blessings. We'll be talking about Lucy Blondel in this episode, and Bobby's here to help me with the introduction because she had more interactions with Lucy than I did. I'll interject what I saw in Lucy when I first met her, but I'll turn it over to Bobby and she can start the conversation.
This was our second trip to Thailand. We were going as a surprise for Brian and Amy's wedding. No one knew we were coming but Brian, but this was a huge event and we decided that we wanted to go after some grandparent deliberation.
Yes, and it was be a secret. Once we decided we were going to go, it was going to be a secret between Brian and Bobby and I.
Right, so we weren't going to go because it was our grandson's first birthday. But as Brian liked to ask everyone in our presence, do you remember your first birthday? Do you remember your first birthday? But our son talked to us and told us we needed to just go and we'd be home 2 days after and just go and have fun. So we show up, the surprise goes according to plan, and our second journey of Thailand began. And this trip was different because with the wedding, they had 2 tours going.
Right, similar to what I talked about with men. There was an off-road tour and an on-road tour. So there was a lot of people, and the only time you got to interact with a tour from one or the other was at dinner or social events, I'll call it.
Well, that's when Mark got to interact. I was with one of our injured road riders in a van, so we stopped whenever the road tour stopped. So I got to know that group of people very well. And where I didn't get to really know the off-road, that was kind of Mark's area, which is nice if you go as a couple because one of you gets to know one group and one gets to know the other group and you come together. But this particular group, both sets of groups were just awesome to be around. And that's kind of what I think sparked this whole idea for Mark, just hearing all the different stories of everyone and how they came to love bikes and the adventures they have along the way. And so I would say this particular group, wouldn't you agree, are the ones that probably started it all, or at least sparked the idea?
Just learning about them and being impressed with different things that they do in life and things they've achieved and how they've blessed us. I watch Bobby interact with a lot of these people and the way they just bring her into the group, even though she doesn't currently ride. And it's just a blessing to us. Everybody that we've met in this group.
Yeah, this particular trip was awesome because, again, I couldn't be with Amy as much as I wanted to because she was prepping for the wedding. And so that forced me out of, I guess, my comfort zone because I'm typically not comfortable, I guess, around girls. I've always just kind of hung with the guys. I think just being in the military and just my hobbies, I woodwork or I paint or, I rehab houses. Those typically aren't things that you get dressed up and meet girls doing. But again, this particular group of girls, they all rode bikes. So they were in a different league, which brings me to my first impression of Lucy. I was like, holy cow, she could kick my butt. And if any of you know me, you know that's a big compliment. She was just present. She had an energy about her. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a smile that would just light up a room. I was literally drawn to her and that positive energy, and she just exuded it. It did take me a couple days to kind of wiggle my way into the girl group. They were always together on the bikes, and we couldn't always stop at the same places, but there was this one afternoon we stopped for lunch, and Lucy and I had a heart-to-heart, and that was the day she literally became part of my soul. We related on a grief level. And if any of you have ever suffered through a significant loss, you know the depths of that darkness of losing that one person that always had your back, the person that you could go to with anything, that loved you no matter what. And for me, it was my dad. And for Lucy, it was Freddie. I felt like I wanted to protect a girl that definitely did not need protecting. But still yet, in the midst of her extreme grief, she still smiled and laughed and lived life to the fullest. She was a guy's kind of gal, and I say that with the utmost respect. She's the girl we all want to be. One minute she's dressed in heels, leather pants, and a slinky little black top going out on the town. And the next day, she's in her boots, jacket, and a helmet riding like the wind. She's the girl that you want your daughters and granddaughters to look at and think, I could do that. Nothing's impossible. She's just the kindest person you want to be around, and I'm blessed beyond words to have met her, to have met the gang of riders that were on this trip. It's truly become what we call our TMT family. Bikes may have brought us all together, or the love of bikes in my situation, since I don't ride yet.
So, yeah, coming up, Bobby's going to go to Texas Tornado Boot Camp, which also sparked some of the reason why I'm doing this, is because of meeting people there, one being Craig, who ended up going on the trip to Thailand again to the wedding. Bobby's going to go through the Texas Tornado Boot Camp training, and we'll see if she develops more of a love for motorcycles. Back to Lucy, my first impression, because of her accent, her British accent, and the first time I saw her, she had the leather pants and boots and jacket. Does this girl race?
You mean Canadian accent?
That sounds British to me. She went to...
She did, but she's from Canada.
She lives in Canada, but she studied veterinarian.
Correct. She lives in Canada.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Lucy's just cool.
But I was like, holy crap. And then later on, Bobby told me what had happened to Freddie. And it touched me, the fact that something like that happened in your life and she didn't run from it. She ended up going headfirst into it with the BTR program, the racing. And that was something special to me to hear from Bobby what had happened. So every night, Bobby and I would kind of talk about the different people on the tour. And
so Mark decided that I needed to, since he always mentions me, people probably thought I was a figment of his imagination, but Lucy definitely influenced me. You know, agreeing to go to Texas Tornado Boot Camp. We're also going to go into Oklahoma and ride with JD, our buddy out there first.
Another TMT
family guy, but you know, there's going to be some of the fellow gals that are going to be out there. And I was teasing, I may be in my 50s, but at heart, I'm 20. I came back and I'm like, you know what? I think I want to do the off-road tour. And Mark just kind of chuckled at me, but hey, you know, you never know what could happen. So these trips and the people definitely become part of you. The love of bikes and adventure and travel and exploration and just living life to the fullest.
Yeah, you don't have any more time in your life, but you can add life to the time that you do have. And hanging with this group, Bobby and I have definitely added life to the time that we have. And it really has touched us.
Yeah, we used to just sit around on the couch and watch TV, and now we're, you know, biking and getting in better shape because, you know, everyone's younger than us. So we have to try to keep up with this younger. So they definitely made us younger, I think. Yeah.
Definitely.
But if you ever get a chance to meet Lucy, first of all, we are so glad we went on that trip. I mean, we really don't have any regrets about that. We did come home and we did have a birthday party for our grandson, and we were there when they sang happy birthday to him. We were FaceTiming, but that's the new grandparents, I think.
He'll probably never even remember it, right, Brian?
But if you ever get a chance to meet Lucy, I hope you're able to walk away with the same warm feeling in your heart that you have just been in the presence of a pretty awesome soul. So Lucy, thank you for influencing me.
We'll let you listen to the deep dive of Lucy Blondel.
I want you to picture two completely different worlds for a second.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So in the first world, it is dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. The lights are super bright, focused on a tiny, singular point. A pair of hands is moving with microscopic precision, repairing delicate tissue.
Maybe on an animal that weighs less than a pound. High stakes, zero margin for error.
Exactly. Now, snap your fingers. You are suddenly in the second world, and it is deafeningly loud.
Complete opposite.
Yeah. Engines are screaming at 12,000 RPM. The smell of high-octane fuel and burning rubber is just everywhere. You're inches away from the asphalt, moving at 120 miles per hour, jostling for position with a pack of other riders.
It's controlled chaos. And usually people who thrive in that first world, you know, that quiet surgical precision, they run far, far away from the second one.
Usually, yes. Welcome to the Deep Dive, by the way. I'm your host, ready to get into it.
And I'm your resident expert, thrilled to be here as always.
Today we are doing a deep dive on someone who isn't just most people. We are talking about someone who inhabits both of those extremes simultaneously. We are looking at the story of Lucy Blondel.
It is such a fascinating case study. On paper, she is a veterinarian based in British Columbia, but when you look at the stack of sources we have for this deep dive, it's wild.
Oh, the sources are extensive. We're pulling from biographical case studies, official race results from Moto America, fundraising records, news reports on a major accident, and personal comments from Lucy herself.
Yeah, and when you put all of that together, you realize this isn't just a story about a vet who happens to like motorcycle.
No, it is so much more than that. The mission of this deep dive is to really explore resilience. It is a story about what I can only describe as a badass woman with a heart of gold.
Navigating a world that often tries to break you.
Right. A woman surviving in a man's world, dealing with a medical mystery that almost ruined her life, a late-blooming racing career, and a tragedy that is, honestly, it's just heartbreaking.
It really is. We are going to look at how she lost the love of her life in a way that feels almost scripted by a cruel screenwriter,
Yeah.
and how she used the very thing associated with that loss to pull herself back from the edge.
So if you have ever felt like life was piling on way too much, or if you've ever wondered how people keep going when their world literally shatters, you need to hear this. Let's unpack the story of Lucy Blondel.
To understand the racer, and, well, to understand the widow, we have to first understand the doctor. We really need to set the baseline for her grit.
Absolutely. So Lucy is based in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. She races for Team Canada.
Which sounds super official.
It does. But her roots are actually across the pond. She did her animal science degree at the University of Aberdeen and her vet medicine degree at the University of Edinburgh.
And she is not your average neighborhood vet just giving puppies their vaccinations, right? She has a very specific, very difficult niche.
Exotics.
Yes. Exotics and soft tissue surgery.
We're talking reptiles, rabbits, rats.
Exactly. And think about the difficulty level there for a second. If a dog is sick, it might whine or limp. If a reptile is sick, it hides it.
Because in the wild, looking sick means you get eaten.
Right. So by the time these animals get to Lucy, they are often in absolutely critical condition, and surgically, you are operating on tiny, incredibly fragile anatomy.
It requires a level of patience and grit that most people just do not have. And speaking of grit, this is where the story takes its first major turn. Long before she was racing motorcycles, Lucy had to fight a war for her own life.
Yeah, this is the Lyme disease battle. And the details in our sources here are staggering. Starting around 2012, she entered a total medical nightmare.
The sources say she saw 56 specialists. 56.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that.
Can you imagine the mental toll of walking into 56 different offices, hoping for an answer and walking out with nothing?
It is the classic, terribly frustrating experience of being a patient with a mystery illness. She felt completely ignored by the Canadian medical system.
She even traveled back to the UK, hoping the doctors there could help.
But she just kept hitting walls.
And this is where you see that badass personality trait really emerge. Most people would crumble. They would accept that, well, this is just my life now. But Lucy decided if the experts wouldn't save her, she would save herself.
She took total agency over her own survival. She literally drew her own blood samples, found a specialized lab in the US that could actually diagnose her, and shipped the samples herself.
And once she got the diagnosis of Lyme disease, she didn't just hand it to a doctor and say, fix me. She treated herself.
For 3 years.
3 years. The notes say she was placing her own IV catheters.
That is profound. It shows a level of self-reliance that borders on the extreme. Obviously, being a vet, she is comfortable with needles, but doing that to yourself, it establishes that she simply refuses to accept defeat.
When the odds are stacked, she hacks the problem, which is the perfect training for her next chapter, because eventually she gets healthy.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. And she's working as a locum vet, which means she travels between hospitals, like Maple Ridge Veterinary Hospital and others in the Lower Mainland, filling in where needed.
It gives her a ton of flexibility.
And what does she do with that flexibility? She decides she wants to go fast.
Enter the Royal Enfield Build Train Race Program, or BTR.
I love this concept. It is an initiative specifically designed to bring women into professional road racing. But they don't just hand you a key and say good luck.
No, the build part of that title is literal. Lucy joined this program representing Canada. She was given a stock Royal Enfield Continental GT650 Twin.
Which is a cool street bike.
It is, but it is not a race bike. She had to convert it into one herself.
This means she is in the garage wrenching. She's stripping off the lights, the mirrors, the kickstand. She's installing high-performance suspension. She's modifying the ergonomics.
And this is where her background as a surgeon is so fascinating. It's all anatomy, right?
Oh, that's a great point.
Whether it's the soft tissue of a rabbit or the suspension linkage of a motorcycle, it's about how parts connect and move. She is using her hands to build the very machine she's going to race.
And it's a very male-dominated world, both the mechanic side and the racing side. And here she is, building her own bike and getting ready to race it at speeds of 120 miles per hour. Her debut season was 2024.
And she has been very open about the psychology of it. You might think she has a stressful job saving lives. Why add the stress of racing?
Right, it seems counterintuitive.
But she says racing actually relieves the stress of veterinary medicine.
It's the flow state.
Precisely. She describes herself as an adrenaline junkie. When you are braking for a corner at 100 miles per hour, your brain simply cannot be worrying about a sad medical case at the clinic.
The danger demands 100% of your focus.
It quiets the noise. It's a paradox, but she finds peace in the adrenaline.
So, picture this. It is mid-2024. She has beat Lyme disease. She has a thriving, flexible career. She is racing motorcycles. And she has the ultimate partner in crime, Philippians Blondel.
Freddie. We really have to talk about him because he is the heart of this story.
He was 57.
Described as her adventure buddy, her riding partner, a selfless goofball.
They seem to have that perfect dynamic. They got married in Italy, which sounds like an absolute dream.
It does.
In fact, right around the time the story takes its turn, they had just celebrated their second wedding anniversary days before.
They were living the dream, riding together, traveling together, and on June 23, 2024, those two worlds we talked about, the joy of riding and the tragedy of risk, they collided.
Lucy was at the track. She was training, doing what she loved, and Freddie was on his Suzuki motorcycle in Washington State, riding down Chuckanut Drive.
And this is the detail that just crushes you. He wasn't just out for a Sunday ride. He was on his way to surprise her.
He is riding to the track to see her, to support her.
It is a cruel irony. He was coming to cheer her on. And then a 70-year-old driver in an SUV turning left failed to yield.
Oh, man.
They struck Freddie, and he died at the scene.
Just reading the reports on that, Lucy said her world was, quote, shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel the absolute weight of that word.
Completely.
1 minute, you're expecting your husband to show up and give you a hug in the paddock. The next minute, he's gone.
The community rallied, of course. A friend, Sonia Pereira, organized a fundraiser that raised nearly $25,000 to help with costs because Lucy couldn't work. She was drowning in grief.
Rightly so.
Freddie was loved by everyone. From his hairdresser to his police bosses, they called him a stellar human being. But money doesn't fix the fact that your person is gone.
And this brings us to the core conflict of our deep dive. This is the moment where most people would hang up the helmet. Your husband died on a motorcycle coming to see you race motorcycles.
The association there is intensely traumatic.
No one would have blamed her if she never looked at a bike again.
But this is where the mission of this story really comes into focus. Lucy Blondel didn't quit.
She didn't.
She explicitly stated she didn't want his death to cause her to give up on the sport they both loved. She reframed it. Instead of the bike being a symbol of his death, she made racing a way to make him proud.
She said it gave her something to work for.
That is resilience on a level I can barely comprehend.
And she didn't just keep racing. They had life plans, right? Big travel plans.
They did. They had planned a trip to Thailand moto tours together. It was supposed to be their big adventure.
And after he died, looking at that empty spot on the calendar, Lucy decided to go anyway.
In 2024, yes. She went to Thailand to honor the plan. She said she couldn't bear the thought of being home for Christmas without him, so she went to the place they were supposed to go together.
I'm just imagining her there, on a motorcycle in Thailand, riding those roads. It's heartbreaking, but it's also so brave. She's facing the ghost of the future they were supposed to have.
And here's where it gets even more beautiful. She didn't just go once to say goodbye. She went back.
In December 2025.
Exactly. She returned to Thailand moto tours. But this time, she wasn't just escaping a lonely Christmas. She went with a large group of friends from the tour to attend a wedding.
Brian and Amy Dathus.
Yes.
That is such a significant shift. The first trip was about grief and honoring the lost plan. The second trip was about celebrating life and love.
It shows the evolution of her healing. She integrated his memory into her ongoing life. She's surrounded by this community of writers celebrating Brian and Amy, and she's carrying Freddie with her, but she's also living her own life. She isn't stuck in the tragedy.
It really solidifies that image of her, the badass with the heart of gold. She's tough enough to race, tough enough to travel the world alone, but she's deeply connected to people. She loves hard.
And she's open about the pain, too. She's mentioned that reading other people's stories of grief helps her feel less crazy. She believes in talking about Freddie to keep his memory alive.
She isn't trying to get over it. She is learning to carry it.
Wait.
So we had the emotional comeback. But we also need to talk about the competitive comeback, because while all of this emotional processing is happening, she is still lining up on the grid in the Build, Train, Race series.
And the results in 2025, the year after the accident, are incredible.
Let's look at the stats.
So 2024 was her debut. She was learning the ropes, finishing around 12th place, totally respectable for a rookie. But in 2025, she finds a new gear.
Road America, June 2025. Tell me about that weekend.
Road America is a fast, scary track. On Saturday, she finishes 6th. Great result. But Sunday, she pulls off a come-from-behind ride. She battles through the field to take 5th place.
She's fighting. She's aggressive.
She is. And then, later that same month, they go to the Ridge Motorsports Park.
Now, hold on. The Ridge is in Washington State. That is the same region where Freddie died.
It is. Geographically, emotionally, that has to be incredibly heavy. But look at the performance. She secures a career-best 4th place in race 2.
Wow.
And she backs it up with a 5th place in race 3.
She went from 12th place to almost being on the podium, in the same state where she lost her husband less than a year later.
It establishes her as a consistent frontrunner in the BTR field, and I think it speaks to that badass nature we talked about. When the helmet goes on, she channels everything, the grief, the love, the anger, into speed.
She's mentioned a philosophy that Freddie inspired: live like every day was the last.
It is a cliche until you actually do it. Most of us say it. Lucy Blondel is doing it. Whether she is saving an exotic animal, wrenching on her bike, flying to Thailand for Brian and Amy's wedding, or dragging her knee at the Ridge, she is squeezing the juice out of life.
It is worth noting, though, that the story has a bit of a pause here. The sources mention she will not be racing in Moto America in 2026.
That's right, and I think that's important. It marks the 2024 to 2025 period as a specific, intense chapter. It was a crucible. She proved she could do it.
She survived the worst thing imaginable, and she didn't just survive, she thrived on the track.
Maybe 2026 is for a different kind of healing.
So when we step back and look at the whole picture of Dr. Lucy Blondel, what are we taking away from this?
I think we are seeing a woman who refuses to be defined by her trauma. She isn't just the widow. She isn't just the sick patient who had Lyme disease.
Right.
She is a healer. She is a mechanic. She is a racer. She is a friend who flies across the world for a wedding.
She is a woman operating in what are traditionally men's worlds: surgery, mechanics, motorcycle racing. And she is dominating them with this incredible heart.
And she shows us that passion can be a tool for healing. She took the thing that could have destroyed her, the motorcycle, and she made it her life raft.
That's the heart of gold part. She didn't let the world turn her cold. She didn't shut down. She kept engaging.
Exactly. It's about agency. We can't control the drivers who turn left in front of us. We can't control the tick that gives us Lyme disease. But we can control how we build our bikes.
You can control where we travel.
We can control how we honor the people we love.
She saved herself when she was sick. She saves animals every day. And I think through racing and traveling back to Thailand, she saved herself again after losing Freddie.
It is a powerful legacy. And, every time she lines up on a grid or gets on a plane, Freddie is right there with her. They are still the adventure buddies.
I love that thought. It leaves us with a real question for you, the listener. What is your chucking-it drive moment?
When the unthinkable happens, how do you carry the people you've lost?
Do you let the passion die with them, or do you use it to make them proud? Take a page out of Lucy's book, Build Your Bike, take the trip, go to the wedding.
Live like it's the last day.
Exactly. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the incredible life of Lucy Blondel. It's a story of speed, sorrow, and absolute resilience.
It was a privilege to break this down today.
Hug your loved ones tight tonight. Take care, everyone.
Until next time.
I can do all things through Christ. These words from Philippians 4:13 serve as the profound heartbeat behind the story we've explored today, the journey of Lucy Blondel. When you look at the Royal Enfield Build, Train, Race program, it's easy to get caught up in the gleaming chrome of the Continental GT 650s or the high-speed drama of Moto America. But Lucy's story reminds us all that pure motorcycling is about the soul beneath the helmet. Lucy, representing British Columbia, entered a program designed to turn amateur racers into national-level racers. She didn't just learn to lean into the corners, she learned to wrench on her own machine, converting a stock bike into a race-ready platform alongside teammates who live by the mantra, competitors on the track, teammates, no matter what. However, the true story test of Lucy's spirit came not on the track, but through a devastating failure to yield on a road in Washington state. In June 2024, the motorcycling community lost a piece of its heart when Lucy's husband, 57-year-old Freddie Blondel, was killed in a traffic accident on Chuckanut Drive. It is the kind of loss that would make anyone park their bike forever. Yet, in the face of unimaginable grief, Lucy chose to continue. We heard about that grit in action in Road America. In 2024, with the heaviest of hearts, Lucy was out there, finishing 12th in a field dominated by the likes of Michaela Moore. Fast forward into 2025 season, and the transformation is breathtaking. Lucy didn't just return, she soared. During the race at Road America, the same track where the BTR tent houses 12 women and a legacy of support, Lucy turned an early race struggle into a brilliant come-from-behind fifth-place finish. The journey from the build and train phases to the ultimate race of life is exactly why we celebrate on Two Wheels Many Blessings podcast. It's the intersection of the mechanical passion and the spiritual strength required to navigate the sharpest turns life throws at us. Lucy Blondel is a living testament to the fact that while we may ride solo, we are never truly alone. Ponder this final thought. In the wake of life's failure to yield, are we defined by the crash or by the courage it takes to get back on the bike and finish the race? Two Wheels, Many Blessings. Thanks for listening. We hope you will subscribe and listen for more episodes. This week's podcast about Lucy Blondel has been sponsored by KYT America. After seeing Josh Herron take 4 consecutive wins with KYT helmets and his 5th time as Daytona 200 champion, how can you not be looking at KYT helmets to be riding with? Check them out at kytamericas.com. Thailand Motor Tours, the all-inclusive tour through the captivating mountains and valleys of northern Thailand. It's more than a vacation, it's an adventure of a lifetime. Book your tour at thailandmotortours.com.